approve the minutes from the past meeting. Do I hear a motion?
Sure. I move that the recording of the WebEx virtual meeting of the Howard County Planning Board's February 6, 2025 meeting be adopted as the board's minutes be approved.
Excellent. Is there a second?
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So moved. Now, Ms. Eisenberg, the Executive Secretary update, please.
I have no updates for this evening. I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over to you to move on to the next item, which is our FY 2025 Howard County capital budget. I believe that's supposed to be FY 2026 Howard County capital budget for this evening.
Fantastic. Thank you very, very much. Next, we'd like to have our staff give the information for us. Is that you, Ms. O'Connor? Welcome.
It is. Thank you. All right. Good evening. I'm so glad that says fiscal year 2026. I think Linda had my heart going for a little bit. So, okay. Good evening, Chair McAlilly and members of the board. My name is Kristen O'Connor, Chief of Community Planning, and I will be introducing the technical staff report and the planning board's role this evening on the fiscal year 2026 capital budget. All right. Okay, so we always get here. So why are you involved? So code suggests that your role is to prepare comments and a recommendation on how these new projects and a substantially changed project are supported by policies in the general plan and how they support growth in the county. The comments that you make tonight and the recommendation will be shared with the county executive and the county council. All right. All right. As a reminder, the county's new general plan became effective December 2023. The plan sets a long-range vision for how and where the county will develop and grow over the next 20 years. In the supporting infrastructure chapter, the plan highlights that maintaining and enhancing the county's infrastructure is critical to meet the existing demands and support future growth opportunities for growth and conservation. The plan also notes that maintaining our infrastructure can help the county avoid larger and more costly repairs in the future. The general plan and various supporting master plans are used to guide in the identification of new projects and maintenance needs funded in the CIP. So in sum, we use the general plan for new and expanded infrastructure improvements while maintaining existing infrastructure, again, to avoid larger, more costly repairs in the future. All right, here we go. So tonight, so just a real quick side note is last year we had double a number of projects. So tonight we are here to present 5 new projects and one substantially changed project from the Department of Public Works. We have one new project from the Department of Technology and Communications Services, and we have one new project from the Howard County Public School System. All right, I'm not going to go there yet. Okay, so each department is going to walk through their project one at a time for discussion and leave some time at the end for you for discussion. So DPZ will follow with our analysis, and then I will be recording, and I'm sure there's a general recording from Jeff over there, comments and recommendations for the transmittal letter to the county executive. So for the Department of Public Works projects, I'd like to call up Yosef Cabeda. So while they're trying to figure that out, I just wanted to say, Yosef is going to run through the projects one at a time. He'll introduce the staff that he has here in the room or online. And here we go. His PowerPoint is up. So there you go.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the Planning Board. My name is Joseph Cabeda. I'm the Director of, excuse me, just recovering from a cold, so my voice will be a little, sound a little different. Director of the Department of Public Works. I do have members of the team here in this room with us, as well as some folks online. If there are any detailed questions, we'll be able to get you the answers that you need. So these are the folks. So Daniel Davis, Chief of the Bureau of Engineering. Craig Daly is the Deputy Chief for the Bureau of Engineering. Abdul Akbari is the Division Chief for Transportation Special Projects in the Bureau of Engineering. John Seafried is our Chief of Performance and Innovation for the Department of Public Works. And Sharon Walsh, who was the Bureau Chief for the Bureau of Facilities. And there, like I said, there are a few members of the team online also. So with that, we have our 5 projects and one substantially changed project that I'll go through, starting with B3864, Border Bridge Program. This project, we are not seeking funds in FY26. What we are looking to do is transfer funds from an existing project so we can have a standalone project for the execution of all the work under the Border Bridge Program. So this is a program that allows for cost sharing with our neighboring counties whenever there is substantial work that is needed on our bridges. So the pictures that you see on the left, the top bridge is the Bryden Dam Road Bridge that we share with Montgomery County, and then the bottom picture, O'Connor Road Bridge that we share with Anne Arundel County. Next project, C0382, is the replacement of the scale house at the Alpha Ridge landfill. We are requesting $250,000 for design in FY26. This is a pretty dated, well-worn facility. As you can see in the bottom left picture, that's the inbound lane that has that one scale. And then where the vehicle is parked is the outbound lane, and right in the middle is the existing scale house. As you can see, it's very cracked and dilapidated, and we will be replacing that building with a modular structure. And then in place of the scales that we have now, we'll have 2 inbound scales and 2 outbound scales. So that's going to increase the capacity and allow us to serve our customers more efficiently. W8604 is a new project that we're proposing, a new project for the lead and copper rule compliance program. EPA has issued or promulgated a new rule for the replacement of lead lines in drinking water systems. And the diagram or the infographic you see on the left is as a typical layout of how drinking water is supplied to the average residents. You have the water main, and from which a service line goes to the house. There is the property line is a demarcation that designates where we are responsible, what portion of that service line we're responsible for, and what portion of the service line the customer is responsible for. To date, we have not found any lead lines, but as part of the compliance program, we are required to inventory whatever we find and identify the materials. So this is an ongoing program. We are not requesting any funds this fiscal year, as we were fortunate to get $670,000 through the bipartisan infrastructure law. That will allow us to continue the inventory program, and then if the need arises, replace any lead lines that we find appropriately. C0381 is a new project for a non-congregate shelter facility that will be the very first non-congregate facility in Howard County. The location that we have identified and for which we'll likely be making a land acquisition in the spring of this year, is in Laurel, right off of US 1. And this this particular, in FY26, the request is for $2 million. The balance of the need will be funded by DHCD. I think that's all I have on that one. Next, we have C0383, the Agricultural Center at West Friendship Park. This new center will house the new Office of Agriculture, which will be co-located with the University of Maryland's Extension, as well as the Rec and Parks Natural Resource Division. The location, as you can see, is right off of 144, across from the county fairgrounds. This is a 380-acre park, and the request for this year is $1 million for design. And finally, this is the not new project, but added scope for the Elk Ridge Community Center. The major addition to the scope on this is the inclusion of a 50-plus center to the community center. So this facility will have, we will pursue, and it will be a LEED Gold facility. So that's very exciting. And the funding request for this year that accounts for that change in our addition to the scope is $45 million. And that completes the presentation, and happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very, very much. Very thorough. Any questions from the board at this time? We will have a chance again. We're going to listen to the individuals.
I can wait if we want to just hear and do that.
We're going to like ask questions at the end, or what are we doing?
My understanding is that individuals will come to the mic and talk now, or no? Or are they just here for support? The people that you introduced us to?
They're here to answer any questions.
At this time?
At this
Okay.
time, yes, sir.
Okay. Wanted to make sure there were no other presentations in the room. Okay.
Not for DPW, no.
Okay. Okay, fantastic. No, this is time.
Thank you for all of those. I don't know that I'll need too much, but one, as a Elk Ridge resident, and one that was in the presentation to the community in Elk Ridge, especially of laying out kind of the plans to move Elk Ridge forward. Appreciate that project being here in FY26 and the work that has gone for that district overall. Very welcome. And I know a lot of anticipation for what that process beginning can, start to allow us to dream for what kind of comes next. That, we have to have a start to have a next. And so I appreciate that this will be a start. So I'm going to leave with that. And I don't have too many questions. Overall, these were pretty straightforward. And everything included in the staff report was very helpful. I guess the one that kind of jumped out for the lead and copper, has there been, and Mr. Lubley is here, I don't know if it would fall to him directly, or I think other staff is here as well. But has there been any consultation of, I know there's been times where lead's been found in school water. Has there been any communication of maybe there's opportunities in those settings to mitigate the lead that is somewhere in that pathway?
As far as consultations, as part of the lead and copper program, there is a requirement for the utilities to do regular testing for lead in schools. I'm not sure if we've been in consultation as of late with any occurrences or any identifications of lead in the past year or so.
Okay. I just thought I would float that if there's a need and a source, might be a good way to meet those
Absolutely.
up.
Yeah.
And no, yeah, I don't really have any other questions. That was it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Would you like to go next? Ms. Mosier?
Okay, couple of completely unrelated questions. For just knowing the current situation with a lot of other federal funding right now, is that money we have in hand as a county?
The money for the lead and copper
Yes.
program? I
Like fully obligated, grant agreement signed, whole shebang?
We did get the notification late last year, and as far as we're aware, it is available. We haven't been told otherwise.
Okay. I have multiple projects on hold right now because grants are,
We reached out to MDE directly to ask them if it's going to be on hold, and their microphone, please.
Yeah, if you can come to the microphone, thank you. There's a seat right here next to Mr. Delmonico. Thanks.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, we reached out to MDE directly, and MDE hasn't given any indication that that's on hold. They're proceeding as
Okay,
though the money's
great.
available. We've submitted all the paperwork today to make sure they've got everything in hand, so we anticipate that money to be forthcoming.
Good.
It is paid out in disbursements, so as we spend it, we submit money to them, and then we get reimbursed.
okay. Doesn't have the word diversity in it too many times, I guess.
You may want to state your name for the record.
Oh, Craig Daly, Deputy Chief of Engineering.
Thank you. Okay, completely unrelated question now. So the congregate care facility, I know that that location on Route 1 sort of makes sense with where a lot of our homeless population and unhoused people are, anecdotally, and probably, I'm sure there's data on that. I know the Day Resource Center is in that same general area. It is not a location that is accessible very easily without a car, though. Is part of the project going to be trying to mitigate that at all? Is that?
I know we have Rose Burton online, and I'm not sure if she'd be the best person to answer that. Rose, can you hear?
Yes, I can. Good evening. When I drove by the site and kind of surveyed what amenities were nearby, there is a bus stop right there at that corner.
Okay. But there's no
And I-
sidewalks on that part of Route 1, right?
Yeah, yeah. But there, yes, correct. But there is a bus stop.
Okay. So no, there's not a plan to do any additional pedestrian connections as part of this project at this time?
Not at this time.
Okay.
Before you go on, Barbara.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You know,
Ms.
go right
Mosier. My understanding is Complete Streets passed as a law, so any new facilities that are being built and considered would have to comply with our Complete Streets ruling. So
That is
wouldn't
correct.
that be taking in consideration for if there's a bus stop, that there would have to be a bus shelter or sidewalks getting
I
in
mean,
and
at
out?
least for frontage, but
Right.
a county project like this wouldn't necessarily, doesn't have APFO. Not usually. There's not a heavy trip
We
jet
didn't
from
think
this.
of that when we passed that? Man.
I mean, in the same way that schools can just get built without actually building the sidewalks.
Ms. O'Connor, when we come back to making our recommendation, put that in there. Thank you, I appreciate it. I'm sorry, keep going.
I think that was it for mine. Well, just out of curiosity, I mean, I know the 50-plus center, we just opened one recently, right? And then I guess, is there a market study of how many of those we need? Where, or is there going to be another one? Do we, how many old people do we have? Not, what's the driver for that? For how, what's enough of them, so to speak? I'm not suggesting this is too many. I'm just curious.
Understood. I would need to ask Miss Jackie Scott. Can you hear us, Jackie?
Yes, I can, and good evening. Thank you for the question. We have actually formed a study a number of years ago, a master plan for aging, and we tracked the demographic at that time that indicated that there was a need for, based on the rapid developing aging population of adults 50 plus and older. And so to answer your question, we actually do look at those trends. But I just want to clarify that this isn't adding a 50 plus center. This is co-locating the existing 50 plus center in Elkridge into the larger environment of the community center. So it's not an additional 50 center.
Got it. That's a good clarification. I didn't realize that. All right, thank you. That's all I've got.
Okay.
All right. No other questions? Did you have any questions?
Yeah. I have one just out of curiosity and knowledge. How many bridges do we have that would participate in the Border Bridge program?
I'll ask Mr. Abdul Akbari to come to the mic.
Please state name and address.
My name is Abdul Akbari, Division Chief of Transportation and Special Projects in the Bureau of Engineering. We have 25 border bridges. So we currently have 4 projects that are active, but this project will be used to potentially fund future projects and future needs that we would have.
That's quite a few. Sure you're asking for enough money?
Yeah, I mean, we currently have 4 active. The other bridges currently are not in need of any repairs or replacement. So.
Got it.
Do you guys do a forecast for expected repairs?
We do. So we currently inspect bridges depending on the size, either every 2 years or 4-year frequency. And based off of that, we kind of plan out if bridges are getting in worse shape, we kind of plan out how much funds we will need in the future. We also have the B3853, which is the emergency reconstruction, where the funds were previously housed. So we have that project if there's ever a need, urgent need to repair, we can use funds from that as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay. Any additional? No, all right. We just had just a few with, let's see, with the West Friendship Park location. I know you're asking for $1 million or looking at that at this point in time. Is that a old facility that's being renovated, or is that from the ground up?
There is an existing structure or structures on
It's a
location.
museum, right?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So yes, it's, once the design is complete, then we'll determine whether it's, the existing facility can be used or repurposed, or if a new one will have to be raised up.
Okay. And let's see. The Alpha Ridge Scale House, is that building the same one that, as you drive in, that's where they take the license, or is that another location down the road?
It's, there is a kiosk where you do need to show your ID if you were going
That's a
to.
different facility.
Yes, if you
Okay.
have recycling or residential waste, but this is further down the hill, if you will.
Okay. I know exactly where you're speaking of. We talked about the shelter. With the shelter, I believe Ms. Mosier asked about this, but I wanted to re-verify. Are we considering a shelter away from Route 1 anywhere else at some point?
As far as I'm aware, this is the only location, but again, Rose Burton may be able to elaborate.
Yes, thank you for the question. At this time, no, this is the only shelter being considered. We currently have shelter services on Freetown Road with Grassroots. And would be an expansion for clients that we don't have sufficient capacity to assist.
Okay. Have we considered in the conversation at any point in time the concerns that those individuals that are in these shelters, when it's time for them to go to work, the accessibility, and Ms. Mosier pointed this out earlier, but if we don't have this in the conversation, I truly hope that we do. But I know when we were working on Complete Streets, our concern was on Route 1, the lack of easy access to get anywhere by foot or by bike or any other mode of transportation other than someone picking you up in a vehicle. And the concern is building things around Route 1 right now without any possible conversation about that around the table of planning is a concern. Can you give us any idea why the topic of access is being avoided at the planning stage right now?
Is that question for me?
Yes, ma'am.
So the topic is not being avoided. In fact, we had talked about transportation needs of individuals that would potentially be accessing this center. These are individuals that are living in unsheltered locations and are considered chronically homeless. Typically, they're not employed. One. The second point would be not everyone that's experiencing homelessness that would access the shelter would be without personal transportation. So our belief is that we would be serving clients that we know are living in cars, which is not meant for human habitation. So this would provide sheltering for them as well. So those are the populations that we're focusing on for this project. There is also, and I hear you, as you mentioned, someone being picked up in a car, but often Grassroots will provide transportation by Lyft, and our clients are transported by case managers to doctor's appointments and things like that. So I'm not meaning to imply that public transportation is not important and critical to many of our clients. Just those that we've been seeing for this particular project, it's not wholesale a problem, but your point is well taken, and I'll defer to Kelly Simoneau to see if she has any additional thoughts regarding Complete Streets and sidewalks.
Thank you very much.
Mr. McAuley, if I may, just as you know, when any development project comes before planning board and as we do our development review, just because it's a county project does not absolve us of county code regulations, complete streets policies, other types of mitigation projects that we need to do to meet our county code. So any type of road improvement, sidewalks. So we would hold ourselves to the same standards as we would any private developer. So just to, just to make you aware that we hold ourselves to the same standards as we would anyone else.
Excellent, excellent. That's very, very nice to know. Thank you. All right. I think that's it for now. All right. Without further questions from the board, we can go ahead and, let's see, my understanding is we're not going to take any questions from the public until after all projects have been considered. Is that correct? And we still have additional speakers for 2 other projects? Okay. So let's go ahead and hear from the others. Mr. Cabella, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for your entire team.
All right, so we have the Director of the Department of Technology and Communication Services. This is Director Mayotte.
Good evening. My name is TJ Mayotte. I'm the Chief Information Officer and Director of Technology and Communication Services for Howard County. I am going to share a slide, hopefully. And we're good. So tonight I'll be talking to you about Project C0380, Transform Constituent Management. The precipitating need for this project is our inspections, licensing, and permitting portal, which is a product called Acela, is end of life. This is an on-premises software. It's been in service for over 20 years. And by the end of calendar year 25, it will no longer have support. So it needs to be replaced. We're proposing this project to replace it with a new modern solution, but also use it as an opportunity to create a unified modern resident experience across all of Howard County. The initial move to replace Acela will take the first year of the project, but we'll be doing other things in the background to set us up for success to allow us to create a more unified experience for our residents. Right now, residents have many logons for county services, and we're hoping to consolidate those as much as possible over the next several years through the use of this project. Because of those several means of logging in and the many softwares that we use, it's difficult for departments to communicate even on the same project because different softwares are in use. So this project will also hopefully streamline the workflows within the county. So not only will our residents have a more streamlined experience, but our employees will as well, providing a better service. By the end of the project, we hope to launch this modern licensing permitting digital experience. We will be able to leverage both AI and ADA integrations by the use of this new platform, a unified front end for all of our residents, which will allow our county employees to coordinate work tracking and completion across a variety of work streams. So overall, the goal of the project, at the end, we hope to create the most modern constituent experience in Maryland, fronting a more streamlined and efficient operations system. It's a $3 million project that will be kicking off once it's funded in July. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you very, very much. Questions?
Not so much a question, but, much easier one than last year.
Yes.
When you were here. But I guess one of the things it seems like this is probably long overdue and a lot of benefits, both in terms of helping us manage, still, even if growth is slowed, but it's also an aging county to where a lot of these, especially on the deferred maintenance side, a lot of benefit there. Can you talk more, kind of elaborate on some of the opportunities that you see both kind of directly, and is there any, support that could be expanded to like some other agencies as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So first, when it comes to inspections, licensing, and permitting, you have to remember that's everything from like deck permits and animal licenses. These are things that, we process hundreds on a weekly or monthly basis. And right now, my personal opinion as a technologist, it is not a very pleasant experience to go into that portal and kind of fight your way through it. So we're really hoping to provide residents with a better, easier way to do those kind of seemingly simple tasks. It will also help streamline like the payment system. So right now it's frankly a little kludgy. So that's something that we want to smooth out. So overall, that's the immediate goal of the project. But you're absolutely right. Some of those permits are then passed off to DPZ, which are then passed off to the zoning board, which will then finally get back to the resident. And right now, those are all processed in different systems or on different platforms, or sometimes no platform at all. So the long-term goal is certainly to simplify that as much as possible. I will say that is not something that's going to happen overnight. Just taking on the inspection license and permitting piece is, I call it a big rock. It's a big rock to lift. But once we've lifted that, yes, we'll have the opportunity to kind of continue to build out those workflows to those other organizations. And again, the goal is to create a unified experience for our constituents. So long-term goal, but that's certainly the vision.
Sure, I appreciate that because I know when we've had, property owners, individual property owners come before us, the plethora of things that they've had to do to come get to that point, and then talking with staff of the effort and the lift that is involved on their side as well, kind of help, carry those things to the finish line. If there's resources on both sides, I say that of one to support this phase, but to support the continuation overall, because the more we can find efficiency for this stuff, it frees up the people to do bigger and more impactful work with their
Absolutely.
time. And so appreciate that.
Yeah, and I can tell you, something I've talked to Director Eisenberg quite a bit about. I've talked to the zoning board about. So we're all hopefully moving in the same direction for that long-term goal.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Very nice. Thank you. Ms. Mosier? Nothing right now. Mr. Godsey?
Hey, good evening. I'm trying to put together a lot of information in my head here, looking at the infographic that you provided. In the second column, under proposed changes, the second item that you have, does that read legislation?
Yes.
And then SNAP custom app?
So as part of this project, again, it's like kind of like an opportunity to look at a lot of our business processes and find smaller areas that I can lift up with that big rock. And one of the ones we've identified, you might know it as OLIS. So we have an online legislation platform that all legislation is kind of put out into the world for the people to view. That's one where, again, through the auspices of this project, hoping to upgrade to a more modern experience.
Okay. And by custom app, do we mean develop in-house?
So that's one of the benefits of this project. So rather than using kind of like a siloed software, we're going to a platform that my staff already has expertise in. So while it says custom app, it's a custom app built in that platform. So we're not doing anything that like we'll have to maintain for 1,000 years.
Okay.
It's something that will be built on the platform, be upgraded as the platform is upgraded.
Okay. That was where my line was going.
I say to DILP, I say to DPZ, we are moving to a world in which we configure, not customize, right?
Okay,
So we're really trying to build a platform where we're configuring things rather than little custom one-offs over and over again.
Awesome.
Yep. Yeah, you're speaking my language. I got you.
Alrighty. Yeah, that does it for me. Thank you.
Fantastic. All right. With all the systems and all the integration, and with the advent of AI and all the things that have been talked about as far as concerns to consumers and businesses that are using it, our interface, we're looking at that now at this point in time, and we're prepared. We're prepared, okay. That's it. Does this have anything at all to do with last year's budget when we were talking about data centers?
It does not.
Okay.
It does not. Yeah.
Too soon. Sorry.
It's a good, excellent question, but no, this is purely software. There's no physical world build here.
Okay, good. All right, I think that's it. Last seconds. Any other questions? No? Thank you so much.
Thanks for
Appreciate
the
it.
opportunity.
All right, and finally, we have Daniel Lubley from the Howard County Public School System here to present his new project, or the new project for the school system.
Please introduce yourself.
Well, good evening once again. I am Dan Lubley, Executive Director of Capital Planning and Construction. Also with me in the audience is Mr. Cornell Brown. He's our Chief Operating Officer for the school system. And I am here to speak on behalf of Project E1065, the Bryant Woods Elementary Renovation and Addition Project. This project is the only new education or E project which has been added to this year's capital budget in the Board of Education's Long Range Master Plan. The project is currently estimated at $46 million over a 5-year period, with the first year of funding in fiscal year 2031. Bryant Woods Elementary School is located in West Columbia and was originally built in 1968 at approximately 37,000 square feet. The facility had a limited renovation and a music room addition in 2003. The school is currently projected to be over 100% utilization and projected to rise to 137% utilization for school year 2033. The school currently has 6 relocatable classrooms. The project scope is listed as a full renovation and addition, which would consist of a full systemic renovation of the entire school and add additional seat capacity, as well as additional educational space needs as identified at the time of the project. The project is scheduled to begin design in fiscal year 2031. Thank you for allowing me to present the project, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right. Any questions? Please. Oh, no. Let's take you last. Ms. Mosier. I know him.
I don't know that this is a question so much as just a comment, but it is always striking every time we talk about school projects, capital projects, that we're talking about a building that was built, in the 60s, already has 6 portables, and it's not even going on. So going on to the budget now gets us started in, what did you say, in 2030?
Fiscal year 2031 is the start of the design.
Right. I know that this is an issue for all of these projects all the time, but I really wish that we could find a way to accelerate this process somehow, some way. And I feel like I have deja vu because I think we've made this exact comment. Well, I don't know, a time or 3. So, yeah, that's generally how I feel about that. But sure, sounds like a great plan.
If I may provide a little insight to that comment. You're right, we have talked about this in previous years as well. So there are 2 items that the school system is currently working on. We are working on a capital budget criterion standardization process, which will give us more comprehensive data for all of our facilities, including capacity needs as well as deferred maintenance needs and items like that. And it's going to allow us and better, more comprehensively identify all the needs and prioritize our individual facilities so that we can have a very clear and well thought out and planned strategic plan for all of our projects. So it gives not only the school system, but also the state and our county partners a better look and a better way to plan for all of our projects going forward. And I know something that Mr. Cecil has brought up, and I hope I'm not stealing your thunder here, but one of the other things that we are currently working on to go towards your comment of trying to speed things up is we've been having the conversation regarding P3, public-private partnership. And we recently, the county council did approve transfer of funds out of a project to our planning project so that we can look at doing 2 studies. And one of those studies is a P3 study with a consultant. And we do get questioned a lot of, well, don't you know what your needs are? And we do. But one thing that any P3 consultant will tell you is no P3 is like the other, that they're all different. And anybody who is interested, there was a great presentation by Sean Matlock from Prince George's County Public Schools at the January 16th board meeting. He had a lot of consultants there as well. So anybody interested, I would recommend that you do watch that on our board docs.
Thank you for all of that detail. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Gossi.
Good evening. Just to make sure I am envisioning this properly, the renovation or addition is going to be essentially an expansion of the building as it already is?
Correct. That's how the project is currently laid out, is a full systemic renovation, meaning that it will touch every system, HVAC, electrical, plumbing, as well as all of the interior spaces.
Okay.
And we would also be looking to expand the footprint of the building, both for seat capacity as needed, as well as educational space needs.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. Thank you for that. And don't worry, I didn't steal too much thunder, but I did have a question. When we got the list of, I was kind of curious of why E1038 didn't make it on the list with the money that was shifted this year, but there was a shift in the scope of what it would be used for into FY26. It was more just a, housekeeping and, I obviously followed that, but it felt like a missed opportunity for us to kind of hear more about it, as it potentially could be $2 million for the sufficiency study, which I have separately shared concerns about that investment. In terms of, evaluating sites, this would be different from kind of what the state does in terms of auditing sites and making their recommendations. Would this run concurrent with that? Is the goal to, I worry about repeating work. If the state's paying for work and we're paying for work, somebody's wasting money.
If I could clarify, you're speaking specifically the educational sufficiency study that we're looking, or the P3 study?
More of the capital projects prioritization, also how that would tie into prioritizing systemic renovation, deferred maintenance, and those tasks. Like Brian Woods as an example, and I'm not picking on it, it's just the one that we have. But in the notes, it's the 31st ranked project, I think, by the state, if I'm correct.
The 30th is correct.
And part of, capacity is we look at capacity overall. I know, I think you're on the agenda for the board coming up in terms of, if it wasn't already, of initiating a boundary review process. Has that come before the board yet?
That has come before the board, yes, and the board has initiated that boundary review. The project still remains in the capital budget, as there's still a lot of variables out there that are unknown for us to make any changes at this time.
Sure, and as we just heard of, Columbia Gateway, and that has a master plan that at some point would impact Bryant Woods, either directly or indirectly, depending on how that shapes out. But I was curious if you could kind of elaborate of how upcoming redistricting may impact this project and the projections of 135 and 135% by 2033.
Certainly. I'll take a step back and answer, I believe, with your clarification, your first question. So the prioritization process is not a duplication of what the state has done. Our prioritization process actually uses as one of the criterion that data that the state actually provides. So the process will include capacity, the state facility assessment, or deferred maintenance, and a lot of other criterion. So it's not a duplication, but it does utilize that as a portion. With regards to the Bryant Woods and the redistricting, there could be, and I would anticipate, a change to potentially this project based on the outcome of that redistricting, as it is just started, or the enrollment balancing. As it's just started, there's not enough information for us to say that with any certainty that it will change the existing surrounding schools, how the changes will happen there. But as the process is primarily focused on Bryant Woods, I would anticipate some modifications to this project. It's just too early to say with any certainty what those may be.
Sure. Thank you. And then next one, circling back to the P3 study, will there be consideration that Bryant Woods, as an example, would be a potential P3? Like, would that be part of their study of?
Absolutely. So we will work with the consultant to identify what we identify or what we believe to be the needs, capacity, renovation, deferred maintenance, all of our needs. And then we'll have the conversation with them. One reason that no P3 is like another is it really comes down to what the industry will support. So while we will bring that forward to our consultants for consideration, it'll still be the private sector that will have to weigh in if they believe that it is viable for a P3 study. But as of right now, nothing is off the table.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like that we are not fully out of the woods yet. You know, and I know, you know, the committee to explore additional revenue is vastly behind schedule, which pushes their impact into FY27 at this point. So I get really concerned that we've missed some windows to kind of create that funding that I wish you all would have had access to sooner. Yeah, I just really worry of, again, with the one thing that we're tasked to is how this impacts the growth of the county. And with APFO and everything else, like county grows as the school district grows. So you have a very heavy hat, and Mr. Brown as well, have a very heavy hat to wear in that regard. And so I appreciate, you know, taking questions, listening to questions, but also spurning thought, because it's been helpful as well. Some of my questions you've planted the seeds for, unfortunately, but I always do appreciate that. And I push because I want to see you all empowered to do the things you need to do. So I hope that comes through, even though I can be a challenge. It's meant to be well placed. So
We're happy to have the conversation.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Mr. Lubley.
Good seeing you, sir.
Just listening to the conversation going back and forth. First of all, I know that after this conversation that we're having here, we're going to open up the lines for our residents to speak and to help them form their conversation with us. I just wanted for you to explain in a little greater detail, more on a resident basis about P3s, because we're throwing that term around, but we're not really describing exactly what that is. Can you try to do that?
Absolutely.
Thanks.
So P3 is the term that we normally use, and it's because it stands for private-public partnership. There are many forms it can take, and there's many models that it takes. Essentially, a P3 can be looked at as another way to finance projects. So in short definition of what we're looking to do is we have capital needs that we need to address, and we're trying to find the best ways that we can to address those needs for the school system, the county, and our communities. And this is one opportunity which has been looked at and actually used in a neighboring county, in Prince George's County Public Schools, that we are investigating, and we're going into a study to see what the private industry will deem viable for this model that they can basically get investment on. And that's where that partnership comes between our public entities and our private entities to actually create a viable model to identify projects that can be done, that they can get investment on, and actually hopefully turn over quicker than we would in a normal process.
Great. I think that helps tremendously. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so for Prince George's County, they finished phase 1 of their P3, which I think was 8 schools?
6 schools.
6. And then they are now working on phase 2. And I forget how many schools that.
8 schools.
That
in
would be,
phase 2.
okay.
Yes.
Okay, I was close. But so out of the 2 phases, they're looking at 14. Is there any optimism to be generated from the fact that not only did they initiate phase two, but it's actually an expansion of phase one in terms of what the market would bear?
There's always optimism, yes. And I think there's a lot of factors that come into it. But yeah, I believe there's a lot of optimism and benefit to P3s that we would be looking into in this study.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Sometimes I check my math of, seemed like a good sign. I just want to make sure I wasn't missing anything, so thank you.
Another question, something else that came up just now. We were talking about monies and how they, I want to say float, how they float from project to project, and they move the dates around as far as when planning starts and when building and construction can start. It seems to move around on projects specifically that are not fully funded in advance. And when you have to move those funds, you do it. In question of a particular project that's prepaid, Faulkner Ridge, all the different topics that you just conversed with Mr. Cecil about, and dates moving and the dollars moving, the Faulkner Ridge monies for the residents that might be listening right now, are those safe? And is that project on target still, or all these things that we're talking about, APFO and P3 and so on, is that possibly going to move those dates?
No, sir, I would not anticipate Faulkner Ridge to be moved. So the Faulkner Ridge project is funded out of the pass-through grant, which is from Senate Bill 291, 2022. And it had specific requirements to allocate it to individual projects. So it's not our standard capital or CIP funding. So I would not anticipate that either of these conversations would have an effect on that.
Fantastic. Thank you. All right. I believe that's all I had as far as this particular project is concerned. I just know that the Bryant Woods project has come in conversation from time to time, and folks are talking about ceilings falling down while they're eating in the cafeteria, and they're talking about issues that are happening with the HVAC right now, and you're pushing it off to 31. What happens in the meantime with a school that's under siege, so to speak, from things going on within the building? What is the school system doing for those kids and those teachers?
Sure. So our Office of Building Maintenance continually maintains the facility. And as items were brought up, I do know that they went out and they paid, I'll say, special attention, because they do pay attention to all of our facilities. But they did go out and pay special attention to the facility to do a more thorough overview of the project. And for all of our facilities, until they are actually under construction, even if they're in design, until they're actually under construction, our Office of Building Maintenance, our custodial department, our grounds departments, they continue to review, visit, and do standard preventive maintenance and regular maintenance on all of our facilities.
All right. Do you have something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, it reminds me of Shel Silverstein poem that I read to my kids often of Sky Seasoning. Highly recommend it if anybody doesn't get the reference. But it did bring up the question before of, I think Bryant Woods was constructed in, was it say 68?
Yes, sir.
And I know some of the facilities, did anything I say earlier about like potential lead water supply lines, is that, bad way to put it, but like, does it hold any water in terms of opportunities within some of our facilities that may have been built before lead was fully banned?
So that is an item that we do currently review. And our Office of Building Maintenance, as well as our Office of Indoor Environmental Quality, reviews what the federal limits are. And we do add those into our capital projects and capital needs. It is one of the items that we are looking at as part of that criterion process. Specifically to the question that you asked earlier about direct collaboration with the county, I do not have that information right now off the top of my head, but it is absolutely something that we can look into. We're always happy to do and expand collaboration with our county partners.
Sure. Like for me, the opportunity of if there's money somewhere, knowing that money is going to be snug, and that money could replenish, especially I think if we show that we use it as opposed to asking for more if we didn't find a use for what we had. So if there's a way to kind of marry those together, I would support that and hope that there would be opportunities. And I also will keep battling to get you all more staff on the operations side of, there needs to be more manpower to assist with a lot of that as well. And the last kind of plug of what we heard is anything in terms of software enhancements that if the county does have a contract for one, that you all could piggyback on to some of that in regards to like tracking building maintenance, or how are you all on your building maintenance?
I believe our software is doing pretty good. I forget the name of it, but I believe we switched to a new software in the last couple of years.
Okay.
So I do believe we're relatively good on that. And there are modifications to that, or mods, as they call them, to those softwares that we're also taking a look at to potentially expand the use of it.
Okay. I just was all here tonight, so I just figured try while we could. So thank you.
Absolutely.
I think that's all I got.
Seconds for anyone? Seconds? No? All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lubley. Appreciate it. Okay. Go ahead and go with the next presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair McAlilly. Now that we've heard a really great overview about all of these capital projects, DPZ would like to share with you our evaluation for how these projects are consistent with the general plan.
All right, back to the bridges, the Border Bridge Program. So this capital project is supported through the county, make sure I'm on the right one, through the county and regional transportation policies outlined in Hoco by Design's County in Motion chapter. This capital project provides the funding necessary to participate in cost sharing with adjacent counties for maintenance and upgrades, replacement and rehabilitation of existing border bridges connecting Howard County with county neighbors, with our neighboring counties. The existing border bridges provide vital connections for our communities and businesses in Howard County. Proper maintenance and improvements to these bridges are essential to ensure safer and continued access for county residents. And then on the slide, you'll see CIM 1, CIM 4, and INF 1.2. So I'm going to kind of go through these unless you have questions. All right. And you have your technical staff report as well. All right. So the Alpha Ridge Scale House replacement. So this capital project is supported through the county infrastructure maintenance policy outlined in Hoco by Design's Supporting Infrastructure chapter. This project proposes replacing the existing 40-year-old scale house that's past its useful life while replacing two existing scales with a four-scale system to meet the increased volume for the landfill and providing redundancy when maintenance is required. The scale house serves as essential function for the Alpha Ridge landfill, serving the community and operating 6 days per week. While Hoco by Design states that the landfill is not expected to reach capacity for years and can meet the county's growing population, the landfill maintenance is still necessary. And you can see on the slide INF 1.2. All right, the lead and copper rule compliance program. This capital project is necessary to comply with the required federal regulations and ensure that safety of the water supply and specifically mitigate health risks stemming from lead exposure in drinking water. This capital project advances Hoco by Design's policy guidance in its supporting infrastructure chapter on ensuring safe drinking water supply. And on the slide, it's INF 10. right, the non-congregate shelter facility. This project advances multiple general plan policies in its Dynamic Neighborhoods chapter and county's Sustainable Communities Plan for the North Laurel Savage area, one of the county's older communities with a holistic strategy plan for community development, revitalization, and sustainability. This proposed non-congregate shelter facility is intended to support the needs of individuals experiencing homelessness in Howard County by providing 20 non-congregate individual rooms with private restroom facilities to better accommodate families and vulnerable individuals. I apologize. A lot of this is redundant, but I didn't quite know. We should have tag teamed here with DPW, but here's the crux of it. This facility located in North Laurel will provide both support services and shelter to residents in need of safe and stable housing. The location near employment-rich Route 1 corridor in Laurel is convenient to public transportation within 2 miles of both Howard County Multi-Service Center and the Loyola Dorsey Day Resource Center. And on the slide, you'll see DN 15, DN 16, and then some subsequent 16, 16 1, 16 4, and 16 5. All right, so moving on to the Agricultural Center. Let me just go back here. Okay, this project will enrich the local community and elevate the importance of agriculture in our county. The county's 2023 general plan, Hoco by Design, reports that 321 farms responded to the most recent USDA census of agriculture in Howard County, accounting for over 32,000 acres of farmland. That's on page EP 29 in the plan. Hoco by Design highlights the impact and importance of agriculture on the county's economy. The proposed agriculture center in the western part of the county is set to become a vibrant hub that unites the University of Maryland Extension, Recreation Parks, Natural Resource Division, and the Office of Agriculture. It advances agriculture policies in the Economic Prosperity chapter that are intended to support the services, education, and consolidation of resources. And on your slide, you see EP 10 and EP 10.6. All right, so this is the substantially changed project from 2025. The Elkridge Community Center, per the 2020 census, Elkridge is one of the fastest growing areas of the county. Hoco by Design outlines the need for new recreation facilities to keep pace with growth. This substantial changed project adds a 50-plus center to an FY 2025 community center project for the Elkridge community. It advances one recreation and parks policy found in the supporting infrastructure chapter. It also advances the vision for the corridor, as well as several revitalization goals and policies in the Route 1 corridor plan. An Elkridge South Civic District was identified in the Route 1 corridor plan in the Elkridge area, generally located east of the library. The plan calls for the redevelopment in this area to contribute to the creation of a campus-like destination anchored by civic, community focus, and recreational uses. And that's found in the Route 1 plan on page 89. These community-focused facilities align with civic and recreational uses proposed by the plan for the Elkridge area. So on the slide, you see INF 5, and then 2 policies outlined in the Route 1 plan. That would be RT1. Oh, dear. And we'll see what happens. It's getting a little dim. Oh, here we go. Back on. And then RT1 29.1, RT1 29.4. All right, moving on to the constituent management, so transform constituent management project. While the general plan does not speak directly to the modernization needs of the county's technology systems, this type of project is critical. Oh, thank you. To the continued and efficient operations of the county government and support future opportunities for growth and development through modernizing the inspections and licensing platform. This capital project is supported through the county's infrastructure maintenance policy outlined in Hoco by Design supporting infrastructure chapter. Howard County's current permitting license system will no longer function, as we heard before, past December of 2025, and this project will replace its soon-to-terminate existing application and replace it with a more unified platform. On page INF 9 of HOCO by Design, the county is encouraged to fully plan for infrastructure costs associated with operating budget impacts. So on your slide, you see INF 1.2. All right. And the Bryant Woods Elementary School renovation, we heard that the elementary school is before us for renovation. It's located close to Wild Lake Village Center and Columbia's Town Center. 2 activity centers identified for growth and mixed-use redevelopment in the general plan. While the Wild Lake Village Center has recently experienced redevelopment, additional redevelopment is expected to continue in Columbia Town Center and its vicinity. As discussed in HOCO by Design, the target activity center locations will strengthen the outer year enrollment projections by providing HCPSS with a clear indication of where to expect growth, future growth, once zoning consistent with the HOCO by Design is in place. Continued coordination between the county and HCPSS is essential to ensure that school capacity projects are planned in activity centers, and that's on page PS 11. This renovation and expansion project expands the 1968 building. The planning and construction project is supported by recommendations in the supporting infrastructure and public school facilities chapter. The general plan also identifies the need to support capital needs of the public school system, as capital funding will be needed to meet enrollment demands, as well as for systematic renovations or replacement of aging infrastructure. Additionally, local spending leverages state funding, so as local levels rise, so do state conduit. Additionally, local spending leverages state funding, so as local levels rise, so do state contributions. Sorry, that's on page PS 19. So just to bring everybody to the slide again, that's PS 1, PS 1.1, PS 2, and INF 1.1. All right. All right, so with that, we're on the concluding slides. All right. Oh, you guys, I'm all messed up. All right, so back to our last few slides. All right, so we are before you tonight to provide you with the projects so that you could review them and provide comments on the impact of the proposed capital program on the county's general plan and the growth in the county. And you see that's per section 16.900.J.3.I. And finally, this is the final slide. We'll be submitting comments and your recommendation on these projects presented tonight, and we will, and I had notes on this, be asking you to comment or provide comments, specific comments on each project, and get your nod of approval or your approval on moving forward with each one of them. So with that, we hope to get a copy of this letter to the county council and county executive by February 28th. And that concludes our presentation.
Well done. Thank you. I think at this time, we're going to go ahead and have a conversation.
Do we need, is this a conversation point, or is there anybody?
Oh, is there any online, anybody online?
So thank you, Mr. Chairman. As of right now, there's nobody signed up online to speak, and there's also nobody who has signed up to speak in person.
Excellent, excellent. We found out.
So we can't draw a crowd at all.
That's all right, that's all right. So we've heard the presentations. We've heard the questions from us at this point in time. Can you think of anything that you would like to, well, let's ask first of all. It's easier to go one project at a time and go down the list and see if there's any discussion for that particular project and if there are any recommendations to the council and to the council, to the county executive regarding that particular project. So let's
Order?
No preference.
Would it help just if how we go through these? Do we want to just affirm whether we support, like recommend? I guess what's the way we should word it? Should this be we support project X with these recommendations or with no recommendations? Is that a format that?
That works. That works for me. Let's go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and start off. Border project. Any concerns that come out immediately, or go ahead and refer as a project as is.
So just one more point for staff. Is like by consensus okay, or do we need specific?
I mean, we'll make a motion.
Yeah,
At the
officially
end?
at
Yeah, okay. I was just making sure.
Yeah,
I just
there
want to
will
do it
be a
twice. Gotcha.
Absolutely. Yeah. So this particular border project, did you have anything on the bridges? No?
No.
All right. Let's go ahead and put that one down. No problem there. The next one is the constituent management project. Anything that we need to bring up at this point in time? I know you had questions on the actual process and what it was going to entail. Did you have any follow-ups on that?
No.
Oh, all right. All right.
I
Did
was
you
just
have-
going to say, I just want to spotlight the support of the potential ROI on this investment from the county. I
Okay.
think would be significant. And I would venture to say like strongly support this one in particular for that reason.
Along with that, is there any recommendation as far as why you feel so moved to push it further? Or
Yeah, I think some of it, of what I kind of mentioned earlier in terms of the burden on residents to kind of navigate a process that is new to them most often. So I think improvement on residents, but also on staff and just government efficiency overall. It will hopefully get ahead of questions to take, manpower to respond, in addition to hopefully increasing interagency communication and collaboration. Again, helping staff quickly get information so they're not chasing data that we know exists somewhere, but just do I have to log out of this to get into that? Can I, get into that? And so I just, others are pretty straightforward. This one, similar to before, I just want to make sure, in terms of investments that will reap a lot of benefits, this one even will impact the operating budget if all goes well.
fantastic, thank you. Anyone else on this one? No?
I guess
Yeah.
just to piggyback off of what James said, the innovation that technology will bring us in the coming years is going to explode. And I think that the investment we make into the efficiency and the foundation of how we build our own technology here to manage the county will be almost invaluable.
All right, fantastic. Alpha Ridge Scale House replacement. Any concerns with this particular project? Anything that's still left out in the open discussion? No? All right. Next one is the Ag Center in West Friendship Park. Any concerns, any questions on that one? Anything out, any outlying comments made that you want to follow up on? No? All right. And let's see, the lead and copper rule compliance. I know we asked several times about, are you sure there's nothing else that we need to know about?
Yeah, I guess the best way not to, just isolate one, but just, seeking to identify opportunities with other government agencies within the county. Probably the best way to put it. But I'll also say HCPSS in particular. I would like to throw that in there.
I think at some point in time, maybe this is the right time to mention extra concern about the schools. And if there's testing that's going on and if there is replacement, to focus on the schools. Okay. Anything else? No? Next one is the Elk Ridge Community Center.
Just as we build out the civic district, it is overdue to start. And again, I would strongly support making sure that this project stays on track, because it too will downstream create opportunities within the existing library space, and then again be hopefully building momentum towards building out that civic district, that any delays in starting will ultimately also delay the one-day finishing.
Good point. Any other comments on this one? Yeah, the Elk Ridge location, we've been talking about this for a few years now, and it does get moved. It's very easy. All right, and last but not least, the Bryant Woods Elementary School. Any comments, any questions, any concerns? I know the one thing that I did bring up earlier, and that was the just the idea that if there are these different projects like the P3 that we were talking about, and if there are other projects that are going on that could possibly move it forward faster, then definitely take that initiative and move that up, because my understanding is there are problems at the school already for it to be a 2031 project. Say it again?
Did we skip the shelter?
I did. I sure did. I apologize. I'm coming back to that one. All right, so that's the school. Let's go back to the shelter. We did talk about accessibility and complete streets around that facility. What else did you want to bring into that, Ms. Mosier?
I think just making sure that just having a bus stop out front with a 1-hour headway on it is not adequate. If there's a strategic plan to focus this particular facility on, the parts of our homeless community that currently have a car, or then sure, and then the Freetown Road maybe is people who would want to walk. But I feel like obviously there's a higher proportion in the homeless community of people who don't have cars because they cost money, who can't afford gas, who can't afford maintenance. It's just part of having some, dignity and independence to be able to walk anywhere that isn't the shoulder of Route 1. So I really think it would be a disservice to have yet another facility that is not connected with any pedestrian facilities at all. And just having the bus stop out front isn't sufficient. So if nothing else, we should be considering whether we can connect through the back end Like if Lynn Bluff can then punch through and get into Laurel, that'd be great. It doesn't need to be Route 1, but I think that that needs to be part of this project.
Barbara, I
did we
want to
get
be
that?
careful on that type of motion because a lot of it will come through during the site development plan. So it depends if that's an option.
We're just making a comment, Linda.
Okay. Before that.
All right. I think we have it taken care of. All right. So with those recommendations and with that, with those comments, we would like to go ahead and ask for a motion to recommend this to the county executive. Is there a motion?
Yeah, so take a stab, tell me if I need to
Okay.
be any better, but I think all we need is that I would move that we recommend all of the presented projects for the FY '26 capital budget, new and substantially changed projects with the supporting comments that we have made tonight.
It's been a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 So moved. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is to adjourn. If there's no further information going on here, it doesn't look like it. I'd like a motion to adjourn, please.
I move we adjourn.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Thank you. We're adjourned.
There you go.